Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal preview show. Our show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture. First of all, I'm sorry. Yes, this is on during the Champions League games. I'm very, very well aware of that. Originally, this was going to be at 7 o'clock, which was going to be in between the two sets of Champions League games. But blame the M25 is what I've got to say. I left Arsenal's training ground at about 6. And it usually takes about 50 to 55 minutes to get home, and it took an hour and 40. So, it was not the nicest whatsoever. What we can do, though, however, is talk about some of the early Champions League fixtures before I introduce my guests to you. This is me literally just looking at the scores now. I've not even looked prior to doing the show. Milan drawing 0-0 with Newcastle. And I guess what will be taken as a good result for Newcastle. They had 6 shots with 1 on target, and Milan had 25 with 9 on target. So I guess that Newcastle will be very happy with that result. The other one was, of course, the RB Leipzig Young Boys game, and Young Boys coming away with a defeat at home, 3-1. Mohamed Simakan, a player that we talked about a lot in the summer, he got on the score sheet, as did Benjamin Sesko, a player that I've talked about on the channel as well and hope to see at Arsenal one day. But very interesting indeed. Let's not waste any more time, though, and introduce our guests for today's preview show. We're joined by Marcus. How you doing, Marcus? You good, well?
I'm well, Tom, and you?
Yeah, frazzled, mate. I'm a bit frazzled. It is what it is. I know that you probably know as well as I do what that road can be like.
Yeah. I'm not the best of roads, so well done on getting back.
Indeed. We're joined by Garrett. How you doing, Garrett?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to be on. Looking forward to having a chat now. Very, very glad to be back in the Champions League, where we belong.
Indeed. And finally, we're joined, as always, by Alex. How you doing?
As always. I'm not too bad today. For those that don't live on the south coast, I don't know how windy it is where you guys are, but it's horrific.
Very windy.
Yeah, so if you hear background noise, that is what it is, because
okay.
it's opened my window multiple times today.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not as windy that I'm hearing it from outside, to be fair, but when I tried to set up a tripod in the car park to record a video earlier on, trying to keep the tripod in one place was the challenge during the windy time. So yeah, did manage to get it in the end. So that was positive. But yes, we heard from Mikel Arteta today, which is, I guess, good timing for a preview, because we know everything that's kind of be said about what's going to happen in tomorrow's game from a team news perspective. But before we get into that, I do want to kind of, not dwell, that's the wrong word, but enjoy the Champions League chat, Marcus, because we're back in the Champions League. How are you feeling about taking on the competition this season?
Yeah, I've been obviously very excited about it. It's where we belong, as someone just said. I know the draw's a strange one. It's a reasonable draw for us, but we've not got all the sort of big, quote, Champions League clubs. So it's good in a way, because we've avoided them, should get through. But on the other hand, it's like nice to have had one of them. And how we avoided Bayern Munich, I don't know. The draw was clearly rigged, because that was written in the stars. Harry Kane and all that rubbish. So, yeah. But no, really looking forward to it. Can't wait to hear the music tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be... I use the word emotional, I think, because it's like it feels such a long time since we've been in the tournament. The last time I was at university, which feels an incredibly long time ago for me now. I guess, like, when you are younger and like 6 years is a bigger proportion of your life, like it makes it feel like it's been such a humongous amount of time. Maybe for some of our older listeners, it's not felt the same amount of time, but it feels so long since we were in that competition. Garrett, Champions League football back at the Emirates. What is it you've missed the most about the competition?
I suppose when we were last in it, like the interim between now and then, it's been, a turmoil, really, hasn't it, at the club? And now we're back in it, and I think we're well set as well. Unlike kind of the last few years we're in it, we're just kind of there to collect the fees, maybe make it out of the group. That's what it was, But now I think we're there to compete with the very best in Europe. So I'm very excited, yeah. Very, very excited.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because, we wanted to get back into the Champions League. I remember doing shows, I think we have one, it would have been 2016 that I took over. So yeah, we had 2 seasons in the Champions League while I was doing the channel. I remember being on a Bergkamp Wonderland before I was doing this. And all of the conversations I remember from that time was, well, maybe we should just drop into the Europa League because we have a chance of winning that competition. I remember those conversations happening. And now it's very different. I honestly feel there are only 3 teams in this competition, be it Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Manchester City, who I wouldn't feel disappointed if we got knocked out by. Any other of the, 28 teams that are in this competition, I would feel a bit begrudged to go out. And I asked Arteta what I thought was a pretty... I don't really want to use the word brave because that makes me look like some kind of, very staunch person. But I feel like in a way it's brave to say, look, you got knocked out by 3 teams that we should have beaten, that we were favourites for all of those. And I asked him whether he felt that this was an opportunity to prove himself in Europe in some ways, in which he gave a very classic Arteta answer of saying, well, every day he has to prove something. So, it was extended beyond that. You can read that on the Football.London website, and obviously you can watch it back on the Arsenal Way too. But Alex, do you feel as though Arsenal back in Europe after what has been, if we're very honest, a disappointing European kind of journey in the Europa League, does he specifically Arteta have something to prove that he can get results in this competition?
I think he'll feel, I mean, you say what you will to the media at times, don't you? Like as a manager, you've got to curb expectation in certain ways. But I think
unless you're Ange Postecoglou, who's like, let them get carried away. Let them do what they want to do. Yeah.
But I think he'll feel the pressure of a European fixture. But I think as a this is sort of dodging your question slightly, but I think as a club will feel.
I'm used to Arteta doing it, so feel free. Yeah.
I feel that the club will feel we've got a point to prove. I mean we need trophies, and we need them at the end of the day. I think. Because you can come close and you can get to semi-finals and finals, but eventually that becomes not quite enough. And I'm not saying we're at that point. I'm not saying we're at this crisis point or anything like that. But I think, people will eventually get tired of just, we almost got there. You know what I mean?
I do. I don't think that. Maybe there's people being tired of being knocked out by Bayern Munich when we exited the Champions League in the last time that we were in it.
Sorry, we got Dalek Tom.
Yeah.
Hold on. You go.
We'll all talk amongst ourselves, eh?
That should be fine, right? Am I back? Is it good?
Yeah, okay. We have Tom.
See, this is why I should always have someone on the streams with me. But yeah, I think it's something to be said about like the last time we were in the Champions League. Like it felt exhausting getting knocked out 10-2 again by Bayern Munich, and I just feel as though, and I know I'm tempting fate, it's going to get clipped if we do again, but I feel as though that isn't where Arsenal are at. Right now. So that's definitely a positive. Let's talk about the team news. Gabriel Martinelli Marcus not available, not fit. Arteta didn't want to rule him out of the North London derby. However, I think that was more kind of tactical and keep Spurs guessing than anything. I think he probably will miss that game. But how much of a miss is he going to be both now and in the short term?
He's a very big miss. There's so much goes through him, and obviously Zinchenko back now, the interplay between them, the pace, the trickery, the finishing, all right, it got disallowed. We can go on all day about was it offside, wasn't it? But take that aside, it was a great finish, fantastic. But yeah, we're really going to miss that. Jesus hasn't long come back, so we could have done with Martinelli firing all cylinders, and Saka's seems to have dropped off a little bit the last few games. So yeah, I think it's a big blow, but I think we've still got enough in the squad to get by without.
Yeah, I think what we lack is someone with the speed and drive of Martinelli. And, Trossard's a different style of winger. He's a lot more technical. He's a lot more like Smith Rowe when he played on the left. Like, he'll cut in sooner. He'll go to kind of like where Martinelli will drive towards the byline. Trossard will go towards the edge of the 18-yard box and then come inside rather than driving onwards. And I think that will change the way we play. That's why maybe we'll come on to lineups in a bit, but I think there's a chance we might see Nelson, because Arteta might want to see what Nelson does, where he saw Trossard at the weekend. He scored, did well, but maybe he wants to see what Nelson can do in this game and then make a decision on who replaces Martinelli for the North London derby. So maybe that's something that we'll see. But Garrett, elsewhere, we're pretty well stocked. Obviously Partey, Timber out, and then he's not yet quite back. Cedric is in and around. He did train, was there, but I don't expect him to be part of the squad. Do you think that this is the time to rotate, or do you think that with the North London derby, you want to go into that with momentum? And I'd also add into this that I think PSV are the best team that we have to face, because Sevilla are fourth bottom of La Liga, Lens are bottom of Liga at the moment. PSV are top of the Eredivisie and have won all 4 of their games and scored 13 goals. So I'd argue they're probably the toughest team that we've got in this group, and therefore maybe we can't afford to rotate as much as maybe some people would like us to.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of looking earlier as well, and I kind of looked at the same. I actually didn't realize they were top of the Eredivisie. I think they've won every game with a plus 12 goal difference. So, they've not been doing too bad. So, yeah, I was kind of back and forth on what to do. I think we will need to rotate, but this isn't the Europa League anymore. We can't kind of do what we did, put out kind of 6, 7, 8 changes. Even I think we saw last season. It's going to be a matter probably of 3, 4 kind of. I mean, maybe in the group, you could get 5, but from there on out, I reckon we'll see probably 3, 4 changes max. So I guess now's the time to rotate, maybe 4 or 5. But even at a push, I suppose that could still run into some issues. But I think we should get the job done.
I do too. I mean, Alex, when do you ever see there being a real opportunity to even rotate? Because it's not the Europa League anymore, even though we've got a relatively comfortable group. You want to build momentum in that competition. How do you expect Arteta to balance winning with rotating effectively?
Well, I mean, I think reality, you have to rotate at times, but rotation doesn't always mean you have to, like Gareth just said, it doesn't mean you've got to rotate 8, 9 players. Like, it might just be 1 or 2. And in fact, with the games that we've got, I don't think we can really rotate, and we haven't got a big enough squad because of injuries and lack of signings potentially. I don't think we've got a big enough squad where we can afford to just keep rotating players in and out. So you are going to rely on players, who might have to play 50 games in a season, which is part of football. I think footballers are a lot fitter now than they used to be. So I'm not saying every footballer can afford to play 50 games, but Partey's injured at the minute, but with people like him, you might get 25 out of him if you're lucky. But I think people like Declan Rice, if we can keep players like that fit, are so important, because with Partey being injured a lot, we haven't got other people behind him, So yeah. I think we will miss, just to flip back to an earlier question, I think we will miss Martinelli, because it's the threat in behind that keeps teams guessing. And I think a lot of our players like to play in front, and by having that threat in behind, it creates, it means the defence sometimes will drop off, and it creates that space for Odegaard. But when you don't have that, I think that's what we struggle is, can we break? I'm not saying PSV will be like this, by the way. I can't say that I know that much, but about them. But I think
they're decent, is what I'd say. They're pretty decent. That's the best way I can describe them,
Yeah. But I mean, if they're top of the Eredivisie, it's not, that's not nothing to be sniffed at all. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Noah Lang in the flesh after hearing so much about this guy for so long, and seeing what he can do at the Emirates. I'm really tempted to try and catch him afterwards in the mix zone to just be like, you've been talked a lot about like Arsenal and things like that. I'm interested to see kind of what he says after what performance we see, but that's one to look forward to tomorrow. As is what lineup actually gets chosen. And speaking of which, let's go to our team, shall we? Alex, we're starting with you. We're going to go in reverse order. Talk us through your selection and why you've gone with it, mate.
So I think for me, Nelson and Ketia both have, they both have pace. I think Saka for me stays in. I could have rested him for the North London derby and started a number of players, but I think for me, I want him to get a bit of confidence ahead and potentially ahead of the North London derby, and potentially this is an opportunity to do so. Saying that, I have picked Nketiah as my star man, as I think he's got a lot to give in these games, and it's a chance for him to prove himself, as I'd expect Jesus will come in for a lot of games. And then you've got Havertz has come back in. I think he needs confidence, and I'm not saying it's like an easier game or it's just a different game. So I think Havertz is worth picking, and maybe Vieira's done enough in that game against Everton to start the North London derby. Or if Havertz, bangs in a hat trick here, then maybe he's coming in. Kiwior and Tomiyasu. Zinchenko for me is a difficult one. I thought he was good, but he did. I know he won and he had a solid game, but he did give the ball away 4 or 5 times during that game. In what seemed like these moments where sometimes he gets a bit overexcited, potentially. So I've just put Kiwior in for rotation, and I think Tomiyasu is a really, really good player and can replace Ben White when needed.
Lovely stuff. Sorted. Okay.
Yes.
No, nice one. Let's go to Garrett. Talk us through yours, mate.
Yeah, so I've gone Ramsdale Nets, Zinchenko left back, Kiwior and Saliba, Tomiyasu, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, and then Smith Rowe, Eddie, and Saka. So yeah, I think Saliba, I was thinking about earlier taking him out, but I think really he is that one piece that keeps the defense just at that high level. I think when he comes out, there is just a drop off because he is that good. So I've kept him in there, taking Gabriel out, putting Kiwior in. I've kept Zinchenko just because I think him and Rice together, the control we'll be able to have over their midfield will be huge. I think they've lost Ngare as well. He's gone to Forest. He was very good for them last year. So that'll be big. I think with the combination of Zinchenko and Rice, we should be able to, outdo them in midfields. Then Tomiyasu right back, I think he's been great when he's come off the bench, so I think he's well deserving of a start. Havertz then, I think, look, he needs time in the pitch, and I think this is the perfect time to do it. The assist for Germany over the international break, you'd hope that kind of spurred him on a little bit. So yeah, I've got him back in. Odegaard, I think, staple really, isn't he? I don't think he can come out. And then yeah, Smith Rowe. Look, obviously this is the team I want to see. I don't know if we'll see Smith Rowe, but I'd love to be honest. I think I'd love to see him back in the team. You said it earlier, Tom. I think him and Trossard are similar in the sense that they're kind of more ball to feet wingers than kind of, pacey, getting in behind like Martinelli. But I think he just does have that little bit more pace than Trossard, say. So that's why I've put him on left wing. And then Eddie up top. I suppose with the kind of view, probably Jesus to come off, get some minutes in the legs before the North London derby. And then, yeah, Saka right wing. I think he wants to be there for the first game, and I think he's earned it, So, yeah, I thought of putting Nelson in there, but I said I'd leave Saka just because, the Champions League, not the Europa League, don't want to get caught cold, I suppose.
Absolutely. And we'll round this off with Marcus's team.
Yeah. It's easy. We've all just gone, Ramsdale. But, after the weekend, do you think, do we put him in? Do we put Raya in? But, yeah, I think Ramsdale, he got us in this competition. So, yeah, start him. Not getting an extra defender in the window, I think's really impacted, because I'd like to have possibly rested a few more in the defence or changed things around a bit more. Gabriel not playing at the start of the season, was that a big plan from Arteta, that he's then going to start him in the Champions League? And also because of Saliba's injury, I just thought, go Gabriel and Kiwior at the back in the middle, which meant we've got to play another player, which would be White. Bring in Tomiyasu just to give Zinni a break. I know he's just come back, but I just want to ease him in. I was torn whether to play Rice or not, but I thought Jorginho, good one to put him in, see how he does. I wouldn't drop Vieira because of the form he's in. All right, his finishing wasn't great at the weekend, but everything else was very good. So give him another game. Odegaard, as somebody just said, you can't drop him at the moment, regardless. Trossard deserves it after his goal. Bring back Jesus, see what he can do, and he's my star man. I think he's where it's going to be really focal going forward, and he needs to start playing, getting some goals, which I'm sure he will. And then Saka, who just plays again like Odegaard, he's always there. So that's my 11.
Yeah, it's interesting how all three of you have kind of got different thought processes behind your 11s. Again, another preview show where no one's picked the same team. I think that demonstrates the depth in this squad and what we've come to expect from this Arsenal team. And mine's not the same as you guys either. It's maybe even more changed than yours as well. I feel as though I think Jorginho needs to get minutes and play. So I think that there's, with Partey out, it becomes very obvious how quickly big players can be lost from your side, and you need the player to be ready to come in and get minutes. So I want to give Jorginho some time. I think Rice is so integral to us winning games, to be honest. He's just so important for us, and he's taken things to a level. And his attendance across seasons is so good. Like, he's so reliable in terms of minutes. So I've not got a fitness issue with him. In the defence, Saliba I did take out. I like Garrett. I considered it, and then I went for it because I've got these awful fears of that Sporting game where he got injured and was out. And I just feel like if I can change him, I will. So I've moved White inside and put Tomiyasu at right back. Kivior I've used at left back as Zinchenko like Saliba. You feel like it's. I don't know if you've seen that that meme of like the what's it that's like placed through a lock as like the thing that's holding the door back. I don't know if you've seen that meme, but that's all how it feels sometimes with our players. It's like just there's the little smallest thing holding back an injury, and I feel like Zinchenko's always kind of a what's it away from, getting injured. And I think just bringing in Kivior into the team there works. Now with Jorginho in and with Rice, I was thinking, well, I've got to try and get Kai Havertz into this team because I think he needs to play, and I think we need to give him an opportunity to respond and get some minutes and some time on the field. And so I thought, well, we used him at striker in the Community Shield at centre forward, so let's try and use him here. And I think playing two technical players and some speed in the sense of Nelson off of him, I think would be quite cool. And Jesus as well on the right-hand side to see kind of if we want to rest Saka throughout the season in whatever, game it has to be. And if we want to rotate him out or sub him off early, I think Jesus is the guy I'm looking to the most beyond anyone else to rotate with Saka at right wing. So, yeah, that's my team. And as Stephen says, there's too many changes. And I think that this is the balancing act. This is the thing that we're always focusing on is how many is too many changes. And if you are going to make these changes, when do you make them? And if you are going to use players or you aren't going to use players, when are the minutes going to come from? And that's what we face right now. This team has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 changes from the Everton game. And in my head, I was thinking, well, if we're in the Champions League, we want to make 1, 2, maybe 3 max to the starting our best 11 that's available. Now, what I would say is that I think Jesus is in our best 11 most of the time. Arteta would probably argue that Havertz is in our best 11 most of the time. And Ramsdale, of course, is, for a lot of people, still probably our best number one goalkeeper still. So I think that probably takes it down to around 4, maybe 5 changes from that starting 11 still. But what I like is that Tomiyasu was really good in the international break. I think Kivior's impressed me when he's played. And Jorginho, I don't think has put a foot wrong, really, for Arsenal since signing. So you can always rely upon him. The question that I would have asked Arteta if I'd had the chance and only had the 2, the third one would have been how many changes to an 11 is the point at which a team starts to lack familiarity with each other, and you start seeing, rather than the benefits of rotation, the drawbacks of unfamiliarity, if you like, within the team, and kind of a little bit of a doggedness, if you like, between the side. But I don't know is the answer. I don't know the answer to the question, how many is too many, but we've all made changes. We've all made rotations, and we can also change in game as well. Now, I don't think we are going to see too many changes tomorrow. I think it will be a relatively Premier League looking side with probably Jesus in for Nketiah. I think Tomiyasu might come into the back 4 in any of those positions. That's what's so beneficial about him. I think Ramsdale will probably start this game, and I think that we will see Havertz return to the team as well. So that's 3 or 4 that I think Arteta will do. But I think Saka will play. I think Odegaard will play. I think Trossard will probably play. I think that Saliba will probably play. So yeah, let's wait and see. But we're going to finish the show as we always do with our predictions. Marcus, we start with you. Scoreline and scorers, please.
We're at home, so that's 1 to the opposition straight away. 2-1. Odegaard and Jesus. And are we going to get this goalkeeper sub that they're suddenly talking about? What do you reckon, Tom?
Yeah, I was just on the way up to the presser. I was listening to the Vision, and I was hearing Clive say that he didn't think we will, and then Elliot said, "I think we will," and then Clive was like, "Well, we might see it." And I'm completely taught. I feel like I said this on the show, I think yesterday with Elliot, that if Arteta said it, like, he's kind of put a bit of pressure on himself to do it at some point. Yeah. So I'm leaning. If it's 50-50, I'm like 51% yes, 49% no. That's kind of I'm ever so slightly towards maybe it happening. I kind of want it to happen just because of the hilarity that it would cause amongst supporters and rival fans as well. Garrett, scoreline and scorers, please, mate.
Yeah, much like Marcus, it's at home, so the ball's gonna end up on a net somehow. So I'm gonna go 3-1. Saka, Odegaard, and Eddie.
Lovely stuff. Alex?
I'm going to go 2-0 to Arsenal. And I'm going to go with Nketiah, and I'm going to go with Saliba.
Ooh, from a set piece or screamer?
I mean, yeah.
He has done both.
Yeah, he has. I watched his goal against Bournemouth. That was one of the games that I managed to get tickets for when I was there. So yeah, I'm hoping that can be repeated. I'll probably err towards the size of a set piece, but you never know. And just briefly on the goalkeeper substitution, I'm trying to think of, was it David Ospina who was brought on in the World Cup, or which goalkeeper was it who was brought on who saved the penalty? Tim Krul, that's the one. I was thinking of David Ospina for some reason, but yeah, no, Tim Krul. That is the only goalkeeper substitute I can think of that wasn't forced. And that's it had a really positive effect.
Maurizio Sarri really tried to bring on Caballero, but Kepa was having none of it. So maybe Ramsdale will do a Kepa. That's the only other one I can think of. But yeah, I don't remember it ever happening like a keeper having an absolute nightmare and he was subbed even then. I can't think of it happening. Maybe someone in the chat box will give us a reminder, but yeah, it's the Tim Krul is the only one I can think of because he is very good at saving penalties. I remember watching the Norwich Spurs League Cup penalty shootout in which he saved a few of their pens and knocked them out at I think it was at Spurs' ground as well. So yeah, it's he is a specialist, but I think that I don't know what Raya's record from penalties is. I don't know if anyone knows if it's good or bad, but off the top of my head, don't know how good it is. I don't know if we've got a specialist in that area. I can see Alex is frantically Googling. I'll run through some predictions while he Googles. Let's go to the chat. Byron says 2-0 to the Arsenal first night back in the Champions League. Come on, you Gooners. Amira says 3-1. No clean sheet at home, of course. Jesus, Havertz, and Tomiyasu screamer because I just need it. Fair enough. Suraj says Milan subbed their goalkeeper today. Is that true? Let's have a quick look. In the game or just Magnon did come off. Let me just see if we can find out a reason as to why he came. Was it an injury? It says I'm seeing people say injured. Yeah, he was injured. It wasn't a tactical change, so it was an injury. So sadly, not a substitution. But that is ironic that, literally hours earlier, a goalkeeper was subbed. Penny Wing says 3-0. Smith Rowe, or ear hat trick. Jason says 3-0. Havertz, Jesus, and Rice. And I think we've got a couple more. Yes, Amberley says Barcelona are 3-up after 20 minutes. Yeah, they look quite good this season, Barca. Who are they playing? Is it someone decent? Oh, it's Antwerp. Okay. Joao Felix getting another goal. It's worth pointing that one out. Alex here says 2-1 Arsenal. That's what I've put on my Super 6. So hopefully that one comes in. Get yourself a nice cheeky bit of cash as well. Arsenal says 3-1. Win the Labrador with the screamer. That'd be great. Again, I didn't see Win the dog. He was not in and around the presser today. I did see Tim Lewis, though. He was there. in the press room. He said he doesn't really go into that room often, but he wanted to see the what Jesus was saying. So yeah, he was there. But no win the dogs, sadly.
Briefly on the penalty.
Yes, Alex, did you find out?
I did. It's not great.
Oh.
He's faced 36 penalties and he saved 5.
Okay, so
Probably
what's
better
that
than
in
me.
percentage? Can someone quickly do 36 divided by 5? I'm trying to do this quickly now on my phone. 36 divided by 5 is 72%? Or is that wrong? Is it 5 divided by 36? I have to do it that way.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
28%.
It's 14%. So it was half of what you thought, Marcus. Yeah, 14%. 14%. Oh, it's 70. I was sitting there going, 72. Sounds so stupid now, but yes, 14%.
It sounds better like that.
It does sound better, doesn't it?
That's
When you
what's
say
good
he
about
saved
statistics.
14% of his penalties,
Yeah.
5 out of 36. It does sound better. So yeah, there you go. There's a bit of stats on the fly at TGT. It's not efficient, it's not quick, it's not even correct half the time, but it's there. Thank you everyone in the chat box for listening and tuning in. It's very much appreciated. Do drop a like, do subscribe, do enjoy the rest of the evening watching more Champions League football. That's the competition that only one London clubber is involved in this season, and that's Arsenal. Marcus, thank you for your time, Matt. As always, tell people they can find you.
No problem. Very quickly, when I used to play, I was back up to our goalkeeper. I've had a few games while he was off. Played well. He came back. We decided to stick him outfield and put me in goal. I had a mare and we swapped back over. So I kind of claim I was that goalkeeper many years ago.
So were you Raya or Ramsdale? That's the question.
Raya, I guess. Turner, yeah. Although I think I played more like Runerson.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I was Runerson though. So,
no, you're not that bad. No one's that bad.
I had a corner which I nearly threw in. I'll be on the Discord and Twitter.
Yes, of course. At MJC Gooner, you can find Marcus. Garrett, thank you for your time, mate. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, no, as usual, find me in the Discord, and as I always say, yeah, join up. It's it's good having a chat in there.
Absolutely. And Alex, thank you for your time, mate. Once again, jumping on for what feels like the 74th week in a row, but I appreciate it.
All right.
Tell people they can find you.
You can find me on the Discord as always. Like I say every time, I always encourage people to sign on. I've recently taken over a year 9-10 football team at a school,
Nice.
which was my first session today.
Did you sub the goalkeeper?
We haven't got a goalkeeper yet, so
letting in a lot of goals there. It's that classic thing at school where no one volunteers to go in goal. No,
I had 12 wingers instead, which is always nice.
Yeah,
but we'll soon chuck some of them out.
Hopefully, one of them will be chucked in.
Always on the Discord.
Yes, indeed. You can find Alex, Marcus, and Garrett all in our Discord server. If you want to join our Discord server, you can become a member by going to the link in the description. Join up as an expert member or a TGT ambassador. Help support the channel and hopefully a brand new system to support a good microphone that works very, very soon. And yes, it's just great conversations constantly. You get to come on the preview shows. If you're, I find I get a lot of messages from people in the Discord server that say that they haven't really got any Arsenal friends and they're based in a location where they can't just go down the pub and talk to a load of mates about Arsenal. So the game time chat in there is really good. People that want to have a chat during the game and talk about things and debate things. There's also loads of other channels for other sports as well that people have interests in. So it's a very good place to be. But thank you everyone that's been listening. Thank you to my amazing panel as always. I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. to give you all of my thoughts ahead of the game against PSV and any news that's fallen out from that press conference with Mikel Arteta. And I'll be at the game tomorrow night. If you are going to the game, do let me know. I will be around and outside the Armoury about 2 hours before kickoff doing some filming for FL. So I do want to do some filming of fans. So if you're up for it, drop me a DM or something like that. I'm sure that we'll be able to link up in some way, shape or form. But thank you to everybody. Really appreciate your time. And we'll catch you again soon. Have a great evening. And as always, up the Arsenal.